disaster must come. At best, only postponed. Shaolin Kung Fu, to survive, must now be taught to more young men.
Welcome once again to another episode of Fists, Kicks, and Flicks, the podcast about martial arts, movies, and life. I am one of your hosts, Eugene Plowden, and with me as always, my podcast partners, Joe Hartley, and coming later, Angel Diaz. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
If this is your first time with us, I want you to know we are members of the Martial Arts Internet Network. On Tuesdays, we got CTE with Chris Los and Travis. Wednesdays is us, Fists, Kicks, and Flicks with James, Joe, and Angel. And on Thursdays, you can get the Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. For more information, just look for us on social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon. Fellas, it's showtime. What's going on, Joe?
Not much, man. You know, just getting back to things at work, at home, dealing with more rain, ice, snow, cutting trees, all that crap. You know, it just
I got a story. I got a story about that crap today.
So other than that, went to my daughter, my middle daughter is in band. She had a band concert today. So I'm literally like, my son stayed home. We're running around doing the home thing, doing stuff like that. I'm trying to watch this movie. And then in the middle of me watching this movie, they're like, oh, we got to go to this band concert. I'm like, oh, man, I literally just finished this movie like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, because like I kept trying to get to it during the week, and then I didn't find it where I thought it was, and so it took some maneuvering, but I found it. So, yeah, I wish I would have watched it a little earlier because I would like to watch it one more time. It's one of those movies that I would definitely watch this again, and we'll talk more about it. But it was an interesting movie. It's good pick. It's one of those movies that I've been wanting to watch, and I just kept forgetting about it. And then completely forgot about it until we brought it up recently. So
I actually think I watched this back in the day because when it started off, it was familiar. Yeah. But I don't think I finished watching it, or I don't remember finished watching it. But I'm almost positive. I'm about 95% sure I watched this back in the day.
Probably did. I mean, when you start, you could tell the first 10 minutes or so of just about anything if you've seen it before, because things start getting familiar, and that doesn't just happen unless it's a predictable movie. How you been, man? What's up?
Oh, man, I've been pretty good, man. Man, hell of a weekend, man. Hell of a weekend. Goodness, more snow and ice, and I'm just over it at this point, man. I'm done. I'm tired of it.
You know, the point, the fact of the matter is this. We're good with this in December, January, February, like you expect it. Then you get none, and now we're halfway through March, and it's like, come on already. I'm ready for some spring. Let's go.
Right. So Friday, we had that storm here on Friday, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, Friday afternoon, my furnace goes out.
Oh no.
Completely shuts down. So Melissa called me. She said, babe, that I think something's wrong with the furnace. It just made a weird noise, and I don't think he's coming out. I said, okay. So on the way home, I get a couple of space heaters. I bring those home because I'm like, okay, the storm is coming, so there's not too much we can really do at this point in time, So I get home and I'm messing around with the thermostat. I'm looking. I know nothing about furnace or trying to repair it or anything. I'm just downstairs, unplugging things, plugging stuff back up, turning the switch off and on, whatever, trying to get this thing to work. Nothing's working. So, I say, okay, well, let me go ahead and call the number that's on the side of the furnace, the people who installed it. So I call these guys, and no one can come out. This is Friday afternoon. It's about 3:00. No one could come out on Friday, and nobody can come out Saturday. So I'm like, all right, cool. I made the appointment for Monday. So in the meantime, I'm thinking like, well, we got these space heaters, and maybe we could just take them from room to room. I bought two of them. I had already had one here, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll just maneuver them around the house a little bit, and maybe we can. I don't know why I was thinking like maybe we can last a weekend, right?
How'd that work?
It did not work good at all.
I didn't think so.
So no, well, no, the first issue I ran into is two space heaters cannot be on the same circuit because I blew a circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, blew a fuse. So I said, okay, well, I got to make sure I keep at least two of them off of the same circuit. So I wouldn't blow any more fuses. So I figured that out, right? So I'm like, okay, well, it's still decent in here. It's not cold in the house, it's cooler than what it was, so it might have been, the temperature might have been in the high 60s, low 70s as far as
Okay.
temperature in the house, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, okay, well, we can make it through the night, through the storm or whatever. And tomorrow I'm thinking, okay, tomorrow is supposed to be 40 degrees. So even though we're about to get this storm, I'm like, it's going to warm up. So it shouldn't be too bad. We just got to make it through the night, right? Around 8:30, boom, power goes out.
Oh no.
Right. Not just my house. I mean, the whole block, my block and the block next to me, the whole block, my whole street is just dark.
Oh,
So
Lord.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, this is not good. This might be a while, especially because DTE, 2 weeks ago, there were people still who hadn't had power.
Yeah, across the street from me just got their power like a couple of days ago.
Right. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see how this is going to work now. Because now I'm like, okay, well, I know we cannot stay here, because now we don't have power. And I know the house is not going to stay, somewhat warm, So about an hour goes by. Because I'm thinking like, okay, well, let me back up a little bit. My house was like a brownout because some rooms I had like a dim light. So
Really?
I'm thinking, yeah. So the whole house wasn't pitch black. Like I had a hallway light that was still on, and I think one of the bathroom lights came on. And I think my light going down to the basement, that light kind of was on. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe the power is going to get restored. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. Now the problem was that the warmth of the house was going down quickly. It was just dropping fast. So I said, okay. Looked out the window, and at this point in time, like it's snowing, it's coming down. So I looked at Melissa and was like, well, we're gonna have to leave. So I said, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my parents.
I was gonna say, if your parents have power, you should be good.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't have to drive far because they stay maybe about 8 blocks away, 10 blocks away from me. So I'll say, okay, cool. So we don't have to worry about getting on the freeway. We don't have to worry about taking any main roads. Because you knew like in this area they're not doing the roads right now. So the roads were absolutely horrible Friday night. So I stay in the neighborhood. I just take the side streets, and they're, oh my goodness, they were horrible. So I take the side streets to my parents' house. I go over there first to make sure they had power. Then I didn't want to have Melissa pack up and her and DJ stuff, and then we get over there and there's no power there.
Yeah.
So I get there, and sure enough, I walk in, lights on, power is good. I said, okay, cool. Go back to the house, pick them up. We go through the house. We just pick things up for the night because like I said, in my head, power could be coming back on the next day. So we go over to my parents' house. We stay there. We get there, and the internet is not working. The cable is not working. Nothing is working. I'm thinking like, okay, the cable and the internet, it was working because Trav has been staying here.
Yeah.
And he just left a couple weeks ago. So I'm thinking like, what? Okay, so everything was working when he was here. Now nothing's working. So I told my dad that I was staying over there, and he texted me. He was like, well, I think the cable's out. And sure enough, it was out. So I read a book. I read a comic book until I went to sleep. yeah, I went to sleep about 10:30. Any time between 10:30 and 11, I was just tired and I just went to sleep.
Yeah.
Saturday morning, I get up, go to the house, check on the house. Man, I walk in the house. It's 54 degrees in the house.
Aye.
Yeah, cold in the house, freezing. So I said, "Oh, ain't no way in hell I'm gonna stay here. We can't come back here." And I was like, "We're not about to just stay at my parents' house and live like we're in the 1800s." So that wasn't about to happen either. So luckily, we still got a place over in Windsor. So I told Melissa, I said, okay, we just gonna have to pack up and go to Windsor. We got to go to the other house. And she said, okay, cool. And the roads were a little bit better at that time. We waited a little bit till later in the late afternoon. I mean, late morning, early afternoon before we went back to my house, packed up our stuff for the weekend, and then we went to Windsor and we stayed over there because everything was working over there. And then this is the issue. This is interesting. She told, Melissa, she's not used to how things are over here. Like when the power goes off over there in Canada, she said when the power goes out, the longest that the power goes out, it stays out, is for 30 minutes.
What?
And then 30 minutes. She was
How
like,
does that work?
I have no idea. Because she was saying the same thing. She didn't understand. She doesn't understand like when power goes off over here, why people are waiting 2 or 3 days, 5 days for their power to get back on. Her parents lost power Friday and they got it back within 20, 30 minutes. Her sister lost power.
We gotta look into that because they must have a different grid or system or something.
She said she doesn't understand why over here people lose power for days. It doesn't make sense to her.
There's got to be some reason.
Yeah,
I'm curious about that.
That's ridiculous. If you have the ability to turn people's power back on, then you should be able to do it. You should just do it. There's no crews got to go out and investigate all that. They can just turn people's powers back on.
Because so my mother-in-law used to work for DTE, and like they bring in crews from everywhere. So and they're working 24-hour shifts, man. Like until that stuff's back on. So it's not an easy thing because like there's a power line that was down over by my parents, about 5 doors down, blocking a family in their house.
There should be a way in 2023. There should be a way for them to get power to us without relying on cables and wires and lines. Look, we got Wi-Fi.
There's they got wind power, they got solar, but that's something they're going to make you pay for, and the power company don't want us doing that because then they're out of business.
Well, I mean, they could be the ones they could be the ones that initiated.
Okay, yeah, but they say they're slowly like that it can't happen all at once because it would be too expensive and it would hit us in our pockets. But really, it's the same thing with the electric car. I mean, look how long it took for that to happen, and there's documentaries on why that took so long. So I mean, these people, it's all about money. Everything's money. It's money driven. It's not about convenience. It's not about all that. It's all money driven. Yeah. We're gonna have big power come after us to shut us down. Watch. That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah. So then, yesterday the guy comes and he looks at the furnace and he fixes it for me. It costs $710, man.
Of course.
Sick to my stomach. $700.
And what was the problem?
I needed a new gas valve. But honestly, Joe, he could have told me anything.
I know. That's the problem.
He could have told me that. I wouldn't know.
I know what? Real quick so we can get into this movie. When it comes to stuff like that, cars, like things that I don't know about, I do my best to find people like that I know or people that someone else knows. Because I don't like the feeling of getting ripped off. I don't like the feeling that I don't know what you're talking about. So you can just rip me off.
So what he told me was he had to go back to the office to get the part, right? So when he did that, I looked up the price of it, and online on Google it said that typically it would cost anywhere from $350 to $900 to repair, right?
Yeah.
So, out of that 710, 100 of it was just for them to come out anyway, just to check to
Yep.
see what was going on. So by the time you start putting in parts and labor, I get it, but still, damn,
Yeah. I like
710.
to I like to have word of mouth stuff for that kind of thing because, like I said, I got two guys that I trust with my car because I know no matter what it's going to cost, they won't rip me off. Like
Hmm.
one's just a friend that's been a friend of the family forever, and the other my dad's been good with for a while. So like, I know they're not going to mess me up on my car. In fact, they'll give me sometimes a cheaper alternative. Like they'll tell me break down what you can afford to do now and maybe save this for later. Like I like that
Hmm.
because I don't always have no $2,200 to spend on this
Right,
stuff, but
right,
I need a working vehicle. So if
right.
you could spend, if you could tell me 900 now and then worry about this, maybe 2 months down the road, okay, I can work with that. But
Yeah,
other people just say, hey, you got to do this or you're gonna be out of luck. I'm like, nah, man, and I get people. You got to make money just like everybody else. I get that, but don't rip somebody off, man. I work really hard for my money, and I need stuff to work, man.
right,
Come on.
exactly. And he was here for some hours too. And of course, they
Yeah,
give you that blanket time. We're gonna be there between 8 to 12.
yeah,
So when he got here, it was about 10:30 or so. So he was here for a while. So mind you, I mean, the power was on. The power got cut back on Saturday.
that's
So
good.
yeah. So it got cut on late Saturday afternoon. I got a text message and I got an email saying my power was back on. But at that time, I mean, I was already in Windsor, and I wasn't about to come back anyway because we still didn't have heat here. Um,
Of course.
yeah, so when I got here on Monday, it was still cold in the house, and I had the space heater so I could turn them on. But it was keeping me somewhat warm. But I had to be here all of those hours while he was fixing the furnace. So then that's when I was able to watch the movie. Was at that time while I was waiting on that guy to finish doing his
Okay.
thing, and then when he finished, I had made some phone calls from work, and luckily it was my admin day. I work from home a couple of times a
Yeah,
month, so
that
yeah,
works.
everything kind of worked out in the end.
So this movie, man, like I'd like to see these movies that are based on true story, but then I also wonder like how much they embellish in these stories, and stuff like that because you just never know like how much is true, what are they exaggerating on, stuff like that and
Was
all this
this
stuff.
movie supposed to be based on a true story?
I believe so, yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't see that at the beginning of the movie, so I didn't know.
I would have to look it up, but I'm pretty positive this was loosely based off a true story.
Okay.
And if it is, man, I mean, that's a crazy story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got this. So, I mean, literally, we start off with there's this family that's basically like in complete downward spiral. You
Mm-hmm.
got a drunk of a dad. You got a son coming back from the military. You got another son, who's trying to get by, keep the house payment, all that stuff, which, I mean, everybody can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Him and his wife, I guess, were working 3 jobs, and they all seem kind of estranged. The one son, Tommy, at the beginning, he's talking to his dad, and I mean, he's really giving it to his dad, man. His dad sounded like just a drunken piece of crap who used to beat on their mom.
Mm-hmm.
And although the dad is clean now, he says he's close to 1,000 days clean. His son's really giving it to him. Well, as the movie goes on, you kind of find out the son's in a bad place.
Mm-hmm.
He could probably use his brother and his dad, and he's just kind of pissed off at the world.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that. Why
Yeah.
I didn't understand why Tommy was as mad as he was throughout the movie.
Here's
I
the
mean,
so here's the thing, Gene, and this is what I have a problem with this movie. Okay, I
okay.
like this movie. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to point out one of the biggest problems I have with this movie. They don't explain that till almost the very end of the goddamn movie,
Right.
and
Right.
it's because he's very upset because he everybody's treating him like a war hero,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the opposite. He abandoned his post. He went AWOL. Now he did save a group of people, including one of his best friends, but he left them after that. He went AWOL. So literally at the end of this movie, I mean, They
But
said the military police are gonna arrest him.
okay, now help me out. There was a reason why he went AWOL. Did you pick that up?
I thought I did, but man, let me hear what you got.
So what I thought I heard, because okay, this like you said, this was an issue because they only touched on it one time, and
That's
when
what I'm saying.
they did when they did it from the his friend's wife told what happened,
Yes.
right? So you heard the same part. Okay, you heard the same
Yes.
thing. Okay, so from what I thought I heard her say was they rescued this group of soldiers, and then they were waiting to be rescued themselves when I thought the Americans came but was shooting at them and ended up killing everybody. The Americans killed their own soldiers and stuff.
Oh,
And I
that
think,
makes sense. So he got pissed off and said "F it" and ran
yeah, that's what I thought I heard. But see, she was
because he
crying.
lost his buddy.
Yeah, she was crying and stuff. So that I'm trying to put that together. That's what I was going to ask you that if you heard that. But I believe
Okay.
that's what
Like I
she
said,
said.
I was trying to get through it so fast. I think I really missed that. But so friendly fire
Well,
killed his
yeah,
crew except for him, and now that's why he's pissed off at the world because
right,
in his mind he should have either died with his brothers or should have somehow prevented that.
right.
So on one hand, he was a hero for saving them from the tank,
Mm-hmm.
but on the other hand, he should have died with his brothers is what he's feeling. So he's mad that he survived.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the wake of that, he goes AWOL saying, "Man, this should never happened. I should have been saved everybody." Da 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 da. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But so he's just angry at the world. And like I said, it's weird at the beginning because him and his dad, like he's having a conversation with his dad, and most people would be happy to hear that their drunk of a father got clean. He's trying to have a drink with his dad. He's like, "I liked you better when you were a drunk." That part was killing me because I'm like, you're so mad at the world. Like you wanted the son of a bitch that raised you, not the guy who's trying to get better.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're talking, the dad brings up his brother Brendan and talks about how Brendan, has a wife and two kids, but Tommy don't want nothing to do with that, and I didn't know why, and they do explain that later.
Yeah,
Um,
briefly, and the way they were talking kind of low.
oh, that's the other thing that see. This is why Angel probably can give this an A+, but I can't because the low talking in any movie drives me nuts.
Yeah,
And the first like almost hour of this movie, everybody, I had to turn on the subtitles just to actually know what they were saying. Sometimes it
and
drives me nuts.
I thought it was me. I thought it was me.
No, it's and see, I said I did the same thing. I'm like, is there something wrong with my headphones? Is there something wrong with my phone? Like, no, it was just the first part of the movie, and I think they do that for like dramatic effect. But if you're gonna do that, like if you want to whisper talk, you gotta still turn up the sound, man. Like, I gotta hear what's going on.
Yeah, when movies, I hate it when movies do things like that because number one, I'm trying to concentrate on what they're saying now, and
Yes,
I'm trying to make sense of what they're saying also. And when you're trying to be extra cute and extra creative, you're taking me out the movie now because I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Why did we start off right here and where's this going? I'm thinking of every other thing except for and not paying attention to exactly what's going on in the movie because they distracted me with their creative process.
yes. But the thing is, they're telling a story to us. Okay, so
Mhm.
we're hearing this story, and it's all unfolding. But we can't concentrate on anything except for trying to hear what the hell they're saying. So now I'm missing the story.
Right, right, right.
And again, this was a great movie. I mean, and this just kind of like you said takes me out of it and makes me, now I got to watch it with subtitles because
Right.
so I can follow the movie because I do want to know. I don't like missing things. I want to know why is this happening and this and that and that and this because later after we get that beginning part with the son and the father, now we're seeing the other brother,
Mm-hmm.
and they haven't really exactly told us, but we know, by the end of the movie that these two are brothers, and
Mm-hmm.
he's at a birthday party for one of his girls. He's happy with his wife. He's got family over besides his dad and his brother, which we don't really know why yet. But we also kind of realize like they're they're hanging by. They're just barely making ends meet. Brendan's a teacher, and he said he had another job that he was bouncing, but it sounded like he was lying to his wife and actually fighting some low-level fights, and just that's how he was explaining some of his cuts and bruises.
Did you hear what she did? What the wife did?
No, it sounded like she must have worked at like a bar or something.
That's what I was thinking too.
Guys were messing with her and stuff.
Yeah.
Now the other thing about this movie, like I said, because I've never heard of Sparta, like this MMA tournament for $5 million. So I'm curious about that because I follow a lot of MMA.
I don't think I think it was just made up for the movie. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Maybe it's not based on a true story then, but I was wondering about that because I was like, I feel like my $5 million for a 16-man tournament.
I tell you what, man,
that's a lot.
That is a lot, and especially when it was winner take all.
Yeah.
So if you got second place, you got nothing. If you got third place, you got nothing. That is ridiculous for MMA. It's not point karate. It's not sport karate. It's not a tournament.
At the beginning, like you had 2 days. I mean, 2 fights in 1 day. That's a lot too.
That was the tournament. It was 2 fights.
That's what I'm saying.
For 2 days. In each day you had a fight. 2 fights each day.
That's what I'm saying. That's crazy.
And then you get nothing. So you're gonna get knocked out, get your jaw busted, get your heel torn or your knee torn, and you get nothing. 0. That's crazy.
I mean, maybe if you look good, you could get like a sponsorship or maybe someone else on. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a mess. It's a long shot. And then you got, Brendan coming into this as a long shot. Tommy showed right away that he don't mess around. That dude, oh my God. He shows up at this MMA gym and they got this Chuck Liddell looking dude in the ring.
That's what I thought. I thought it was Chuck too at first.
I really did until I had to look at him a couple times. I'm like, oh, that's not Chuck, but whatever. And he's knocking out sparring partners left and right. And I guess his name was Mad Dog. They were calling him. I don't think they gave him any other name than that. And Tommy's just doing his own little workout, and they're trying to get another sparring partner. And they're like, if this dude can get here in 20 minutes, $200. I don't know that I'm taking a butt whooping for $200, man.
if that's your job as a sparring partner, I mean, I'm quite sure that people do that all the time.
I don't think $200. I'm going, give me at least $5.
I mean, but you got to think, man. Like, if you're not in the UFC or Bellator, like you're not making money like that.
Exactly.
So you're gonna take what you can get as far as if you're doing MMA.
True. So Tommy basically says, "Hey, man, I'll keep him warm until the other guy gets here, but I want that $200." And the guy is kind of looking at him like, "No, just get out of here." And at this point, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I know exactly where this is going." Tommy comes in there and lays my man out. Like he didn't even play around. He would just come in and lays my. This is the top fighter of this gym, and he just made him look stupid.
And when that happened, I said they're going to fight each other in the tournament.
Now here's what got me. Okay, why did they let this man in the tournament after just taking a beating like that from some dude off the street?
Well, I think he was already training for the tournament.
Yes, but they should have replaced him. If you take a beating from some guy off the street, they should replace you, or you should go back and train a lot harder.
Well, I mean, I mean, his coach evidently had a way of getting people into this tournament because he is actually the one that got Tommy into the tournament.
I think he was looking to take Tommy instead of Mad Dog. I think why Tommy, he was looking for Tommy over Mad Dog.
Yeah. I
mean, that's not a good coach, man. Coach is going to drop you after you just got dropped on some ball.
Well, obviously, when he looked at Tommy, he knew that this was not an average.
I know, but they didn't know that until that point. I mean, that went viral. I'm just saying, if I was Mad Dog, man, I'd be like, oh, I need to step my game up.
And that's an important part that you just brought up. That someone was when they were doing that Sparta session, someone was recording it and he put it online, and that clip of Tommy beating up Mad Dog went viral. That's important because people find out about it later.
Yes. So the next thing we see, and this is where I find out, because like I said, Brendan's wife thought he was bouncing at a bar, and he was like, "Oh, it's gonna be a slow day." But he won these fights, and probably got a little bit of money, but he got a little beat up. So when he came home, she knew he wasn't. She was like, "Oh, I thought it was gonna be a slow night," and he's like, he finally admitted to her what's going on, and she was not happy. So
she was instantly pissed.
Yeah, but she said, I thought we were done with this. Da da da. I'm not going to be a fighter's wife. I don't want my girl seeing you coming home like this. Da da da. But it's one of those things, man. Like once you end that, like it's hard to get away from, especially if you're good at it. And then as the scene before this, you see he's about to lose his house, so he needs quick money.
But you know what? He had options. Like the banker told him, like, you can file for bankruptcy.
He said that wasn't his style.
Yeah, well,
I did. No, trust me, I did. You know what? I know people that have filed bankruptcy multiple times and come out better on the other end. So yeah. I don't know how that works, but I mean, not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not. Actually, I did it, and I felt a lot better when I got it over with. That's
what I'm saying.
You mess up sometimes in your youth, and you got to start all over. So
exactly. But yeah, he wasn't having that. So now here's the thing that got me, and that's what I'm saying. So if this was based on a true story, which I'm still going to look that up later, this guy goes to work the next day at the school and gets they suspend him for being a part of this fight.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a teacher, and I'm doing stuff on my own time. What is it? Any of your business what I'm doing?
I think he was saying the superintendent was coming into the school. That's what the principal said, I think.
But I'm saying, what do they have to say? And I feel like, depending on the time frame that this was taking place, most schools and most teachers have a union. Where was the union for this? Because I feel like the union could have at least fought to keep his job.
Well, I think you're right. I think it's certain occupations where how you present yourself is important. Like, I don't think you can be a lawyer going into court with your face beat up like that, and I don't think you can be a doctor seeing patients with your face beat up like that.
I'm just saying, man. Like, if you're a teacher, what you do on your own time, like they don't need to know how you got there. Like maybe you got jumped.
Yeah, George the Animal Steel, he was a teacher in Detroit.
That's right? Hilarious.
Yeah, he was a school when he was a wrestler, he would still teach.
I can't see him as a teacher. That dude's crazy.
And people used to say, "Is this you?" And he would deny that it was him. Like some of his students, they would see him. Yeah, no,
that's someone that looks like me.
Yes, he used to do that. Yeah,
you know what? If that was the case, though, why didn't he just wear a mask?
I don't know. Maybe he was enjoying it himself. Like maybe he was having a good laugh by himself.
Wasn't George the Animal Steel the one who used to like eat the turnbuckle or whatever?
Yeah.
See, how can you do that and go teach a class? That's hilarious.
Had a green tongue. Had a bald head.
And then just the next day, he's in the class teaching.
And George the Animal Steel was a wrestler that was not he was not getting on there and cutting a good promo. He acted like he was slow. George the Animal Steel acted like he was someone who was challenged.
Because he was an animal.
Right. I have to be real careful with the words I choose.
No, I think he did all right.
Certain things you can't say nowadays. He acted pretty challenged. So it's pretty funny that, then, Monday morning he's back in class teaching math. Like
that cracks me. That's hilarious. Cause like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. But then, I don't know, that part got me. Cause I'm like, really? Like, I mean, I feel like if you doing what you got to do, to get by. So what? I mean, there was another movie. I know this wasn't based on a true story, or maybe it was. Here Comes the Boom. Same thing. Kevin James played a teacher who
Mhm.
ended up
Oh yeah,
getting
I saw
into it, and now he was doing the MMA to help save something for the school.
that. Mhm.
To help
I think
save
it was the music
he was
the
helped to
music
save,
class or something.
he was helped to save the music teacher's job.
Angel, is this based off a true story?
No, it's not. But there
Okay.
are
I don't know
there
why I
are
thought it was.
there are aspects of it though that they took from real elements of the sport, right? So like,
There's a
you know,
lot. There's a lot in this movie, so it's a little crazy.
yeah, the
So
Grand
we've
Prix.
already discussed. We're kind of at the part where he got let go from his teaching job, and we had a gripe at the beginning about the low talking. The very like I had turned subtitles on because I couldn't even hear what they were saying.
Really?
At the beginning, like the first almost hour of the movie, it was really low. A lot of low, almost whisper talking. Like they were trying to make it more extra dramatic. And it just kind of took Gene and I out of it. I don't hate this movie. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying,
Yeah, we're not
like,
saying that. We're not saying that.
if you
I
if
just
you're
didn't.
trying to do something artistically, like just make sure I can hear it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I love the movie. One thing that my gripe was I didn't like the camera that they used, or maybe just the picture, the way like the pixelation was. Like, were we really watching movies like that? Like, it looked like
Like,
Batman. Batman Begins looked like it had better picture resolution than that movie.
I mean, it looked kind of. I mean, it gave it a little grimy look, which I didn't
It
mind
did.
because this was a grimy kind of movie.
No, I definitely get you. I don't know. Maybe I guess when again, you know how like when you see things when you're younger and you see them when you're older, it's like two totally different perspectives. So
Yeah,
I
but
Yeah.
but look at it this way also, Angel. Like one of your favorite movies, the Rocky series, right?
yeah.
Rocky 1 does not look anything like Rocky 4 or
Listen,
Rocky
you know
3.
what? Actually, and I think that's the reason why I like the later Rockies as opposed to the early Rockies. That's probably why.
Mm.
So I
So
agree with you.
to me, it had that Rocky 1 feel to it,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
It did.
griminess of it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you know what? Before I forget, so when I was watching this and then I was looking up some things, there's talk of a continuation of this being into like a series, like
Mm.
on HBO and stuff.
I'm gonna be honest with you. As a TV show or as a movie series,
TV show.
I would like that depending on who they have.
I would like the same people,
I
honestly.
would like that's my thing. I would want the same people, but I don't know if they're able to go back to that when it took like I'm gonna be honest with you, like
You
They
mean
could
like
train. They could train another crew. It could be like
okay.
yeah,
I was wondering what you guys meant if they were
yeah.
going to start it all over or were they going to continue like 11 or
and
12 years
because of
later.
the way this ended, we could see what happened with them. Did he? What was his
That's what I
trial like?
had. That's what I
What
had a
was his
problem with.
trial like with the military? Did the family come together finally at the end, including the dad? There's a lot of unresolved things at the end of this
But that's what
movie
I think
that
made
we don't
this
know
movie
about.
so good. That's what I think made a movie so good, personally, in my opinion, was that it wasn't a typical like it left you asking questions and wanting more. And I think that's why everyone loved the movie when it came out, was because it was
Yeah,
something it really was different for its time when it came out. Honestly, it really
I
was.
like these movies that are like this. I like these gritty, grimy. Give me
Yeah.
some story and then give me some fighting. They had,
I
they had
personally
a
I do
training
too.
montage. They had everything
Yeah.
that I kind of like. You know what I'm
Personally,
saying?
I do too. I kind of like I think that's why I liked when we watched Bruised so much because
Yeah.
it gave me resemblance to this movie, and it gave me like I kind of like the story with the fighting aspects. It makes me more invested, you know. So
Mhm.
I definitely like that. Yeah, for people that I was busy dealing with family stuff. My family's going away, so I had to teach them how to do. They learned that you can have plane tickets on your Apple Wallet. So I had to
Yep.
go through that whole process, and it took me a long time to explain what's gonna happen. But I love this movie. It's like one of my favorite movies, and I'll say what I have a whole different perspective than I did when I watched it as a kid. And I think that's what I
Oh,
love
good.
so much that I watched this, and especially me being a teacher, me basically living the same life. I think
Oh,
that's where I
that's
connected so much.
okay, Angel. Perfect. That's right. So Joe was just saying that he feels like the school board shouldn't have been able to tell him that he cannot teach if he's going to fight. Would your school board say something, or a principal say something to you if you came to school with your
You know
face
what?
messed up like that?
Now that I think about it, because my wife's a teacher, what's in your contract? Like, what can they get you on in your contract?
So
That's what it is.
So this is the thing. I get leniency right now where I'm at. My principal is a huge UFC fan. Like he always wants to talk to me about fighting and UFC and John. He was just talking to me about John Jones. Like he's been buzzing my ear off about it because he's huge into UFC. I've gone to work about 4 or 5 times now with black eyes and swollen faces. And you know, I think I'm in a spot where like the contract says like you have to come with a presentable look, and they account presentable in terms of like hygiene, how you take care of yourself, your body, like, and how you look like physically as your appearance, because it can make students feel uncomfortable. And the minute a student says they feel uncomfortable or anything, they're going to use that to get you out.
So then this was justified. If that's
Yeah,
the case.
and technically, when I saw it, I was like, it is justified because a parent can make a complaint, and that parent can look out and say it's for the safety, and they're worried about the safety of their child, and they can make a complaint on that, even though it's outside of school hours and it's on their own personal time. You know, we hear all the time. Sometimes your personal life, you don't really have one like that when you're a teacher. That's the truth. Like sometimes you don't. I've gone into work with these black eyes and all this stuff. So when I saw it, I know that feeling. Everything he was feeling, I know that feeling. I know like there was sometimes like it looked really bad, and I had to I had to get a talk to once or twice. Like it was tough. So it sucks, but it's like, yo, like they have every right to do that. That's the sad part about it. Now, something else I think they touched on, and you know, I'm not gonna get into either Joe's pockets or my pockets, but I think it's a common theme how back in 2010 and all the way to now, you know, it's tough to live your life off a teacher's salary. And you hear them saying they had to have 3 jobs and all that. Like, and like I said, like, I don't know how it is for you over there, Joe. Like me, like I'm in a different spot, but just in general, like that's a thing I hear with all teachers, no matter what teacher you talk to. Everyone says like, yo, it's still kind of hard, like depending on what your cost of living is and where you're at, it's hard to like live off of your salary. Because I know like in different places, North Carolina, other places, your highest you may get is 50,000, 60, 70,000. That's it. As opposed to other places you start out in the 50s, 60s, you know? So it's different. But I will say, man, I connected to this movie a lot just because of I've gone through a lot of the stuff in that movie.
Well, one thing that we did not talk about, but since you just brought that up, Angel, the reason they got behind and got in debt was because his daughter had to have heart surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they ended up having to refinance their house a couple times, and then they ended up getting upside down in their mortgage. So that's what happened to them. It wasn't like that they weren't making enough money or they were being irresponsible.
But that raised more questions for me because, you know, as I don't know how it is over there in Detroit, or not Detroit, in Michigan, but I know like for us here in Connecticut, the people that get the best health care from in the state is first responders and educators. Like we get the best health care. So like our medical insurance is like off the chart over here. Like we can like you know, I always say it like it's almost as close to like if my arm got chopped off, I'll get a new one tomorrow. Like it's that good to a point. So I don't know what it's like over there in Michigan. So it made me wonder like what wasn't being covered, what kind of policy did they have, like what happened there, because you know it's part of your benefit package. Like that's like something that you should get. Like I don't understand how they were in debt.
I agree. That's crazy.
So that's something that really sparked my interest again. But again, like I said, like this movie raises so many questions and it makes me think. Like that's why I like the movie too. Is at this age I'm able to like really think about stuff deeper, because I was like, yo, like like one thing I also didn't like Tom Hardy's role. I wish I could have got more of his story. Just more of his. I feel like he just came up. We just saw him come out of nowhere and just start kicking ass. Like we didn't get like a lead up to how he was able to start kicking ass. You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
they do show a little bit, and you kind
Little
of
bit.
put some pieces together because I mean, and that leads into the next section.
Yeah.
So, uh, Brendan goes to his friend Frank and asks him to train him, and he starts taking little fights, and he's not talking about Sparta right now, but Tommy, he talks to his dad. He wants his dad to train him, and so we saw a part before this where his dad was watching old wrestling videos of the boys. So his dad must have been his coach for wrestling, and then maybe some boxing.
Mm-hmm.
So and he's not happy with his dad right now, but he trusts him enough to train him.
I was surprised that he even asked his dad because he joined the gym.
I
And
think, but I think he wants a connection, but he's too stubborn to really take on it. He still has all this anger with himself, and then he has unresolved anger with his dad. So I think he wants that connection. He's just too stubborn to ask for it. So this is his way of letting his dad in without saying, "Hey, I need you."
do you
That
think do you think Tommy's anger was justified throughout the
Towards
movie?
his
Throughout everything, he was mad the whole movie. He never was not mad in the movie.
well, towards his dad, I'm sure, but I think when you let things go that long, you got to make a decision. Like, do you want this person in your life? You got to show a little forgiveness. Go ahead, let it out, unload on them, and then decide: are you going to forgive him or are you not? You know, his dad's at the point where he might only have another good 10 years. So, I
10?
mean, if you 10 or
10?
15,
The way Nick
well,
Nolte looked in that movie, I thought he had one foot in the grave and the other foot on a piece of ice. Like I thought he was out of here pretty soon.
I'm just saying in a sense, you don't know how much time he's got left. So that's a decision, and obviously, like I said, he's slowly deciding on what he wants to do. Meanwhile, the dad, he thinks he's making headway with Tommy. Then he tries to go and visit Brendan, and Brendan still don't want nothing to do with him. Brendan's like, "Why don't you pick up the phone or write a postcard? Don't just show up at my door. You got to ease your way into this." And he's like, "Well, can't you just forgive me?" And he says, "I forgive you, but I don't want you anywhere near my family."
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Grandpa's looking at his grandkids from the other side of the door.
Yeah, that was
One
sad.
grandkid,
That was
he's
sad.
never, it really was. He's never even met the one little girl, and she looked like she was 3 or 4. And then he hadn't seen the other one in 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was very
Yeah,
sad.
yeah. You got anything, Angel?
I just like I don't know how to explain it. Like a part of me just really wanted to sit there and just be like, yo, like I never seen someone that was so like he let hate and anger drive him, right? And it was almost like we can kind of like, you can kind of tell where the movie was gonna go anyways. Like it ain't gonna end up good for people like that. It ain't gonna work out well for them. Um I do
Really, all the way to the end, I was kind of rooting for Tommy for the most part, even though I should have been rooting for Brendan because he needed things more. But I'm not gonna lie, I
I
like
didn't.
Tommy's.
I,
I like
I
Tommy's funky attitude during the fights.
I couldn't tell who was going to win. I didn't know between them because the way they did the movie, the way they wrote the movie, they didn't lead you in one direction
No,
which is
between the
good.
two.
Which
Yeah,
is
it
good.
was. Yeah, exactly. It was good. So I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen.
I think one thing, man, I with Tommy, I think not even I'm not gonna say this with Tommy. I'm gonna say this in general. I really something else I loved about this movie, right? Is if we look at MMA now and we look at MMA when that movie was shot, man, the evolution of MMA is ridiculous. Because the stuff they're doing there is almost like it's like what you see like an amateur tournament being done. Like good amateur fighters are doing that. Like,
okay, but go back to the Gracie days.
Mm.
yeah, I know, I got you. I don't get me
Did you
wrong.
see what I don't remember what UFC it was, but it was what was it, Dan Severance and Hoist Gracie were
Yeah.
on the ground for 35 minutes
It's one.
having like the longest chess match ever.
Yeah.
And
And that's
people nowadays would hate that, but for a karate person, for me who was getting into that, I was like, "Oh man, this is the craziest fight I've ever seen in my life."
I
But that's
know
when like they
it's
had to come in
crazy.
and change it.
Yeah,
you can't have a 35-minute fight. People aren't going to pay to watch that.
no, you can't have someone that's literally gonna be a leaf on you the whole time. You can't do that. But it's I think it's just crazy, man. Just to see like something else I loved about it was just seeing the evolution of MMA. It was just insane.
Yeah.
You get to see it, and even just between Warrior and Bruise. And I use Bruise just because it followed the same type of like it was a deep movie that had fighting involved with it. But man, like I just look at it and I'm just like, it's just crazy to see the evolution of like where MMA is. And also, I almost want to go on a limb and say like this movie kind of like restarted Tom Hardy's like career. At that time he wasn't really like playing no big roles, and
Nope.
I feel like this movie kind of like helped him. And also, I wanted to know, did this movie make him was this the movie that sparked his love to get into jiu-jitsu, or was he already doing jiu-jitsu before that?
I have no idea.
Because he's a IBJ FF or IBJJF world champion and purple belt world champion. Like that's like a huge thing. Like
I forgot about that. I did see that picture of him. There was a picture floating around the internet. I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, you didn't recognize him. He's so scruffy, and he's kind of living like a simple lifestyle. He's like, yeah, just do this on the weekends, like doing my own thing,
Mm-hmm.
Which
he won a big tournament. Like he won that big tournament.
That tournament's huge. That's like
that's what I'm saying. He had like 20 fights or something, or 20 matches, I heard, or something.
Yeah, so that's like a huge thing.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah. And I don't think people are just like, "Oh, you're Tom Hardy." I mean, I wouldn't.
I don't think they
still
knew.
Try to beat him.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, I don't think they knew. Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe. So the way that so Tommy got into this by beating up on Mad Dog and showing his skills. So he got into Sparta that way, through that gym manager and everything like that. And then Brendan, who's training with Frank's guy, when they were training together, they were running, busted his knee. So he was out of Sparta, and Frank was searching for someone new. And Brendan went to him and said, "How about me?" Now he's looking at that money, but he's also like, I can do this. I can do it. Frank at first is like, I don't know, man. If you go in there and get tapped in 5 seconds, like you're going to hurt my reputation and hurt yours for future fights. So, but he's like, "Nah, man, I can do this." Da da da.
Frank also didn't want to hear his wife.
No. Well, that's the thing, because he's doing this without his wife. His wife and him didn't even talk about it. And even when he does get into Sparta and he takes that phone call, she looks at him like, "I like this conversation we just had. I can tell you right now, I've been married for a long time. That's not going to fly.
Yeah.
You can't make decisions like that."
Yeah.
I joke with my wife. I'm like, I play the, I'm going to ask for forgiveness before I ask for permission. But something life-changing like that, man, this is not going to fly. There's going to be no forgiveness. I'm going to get punched in the face. So, but I mean, he talked her into it, but she was still, and that's because she was looking at the main big fighter. What was his name? Hoda?
Koba.
Yeah.
Koba from Russia. This dude was just a
and now that is another issue that I had. Like, why make him from Russia? Like, what is America's, well, I should say Hollywood obsession with making the villain Russian?
I don't know. Good question.
Have we ever had any Russian heroes in any of our movies?
The Winter Soldier.
Not the Winter Soldier. There's a Russian Captain America.
Russian Captain.
He was in the Black Widow movie.
Oh yeah.
Red something.
Yeah. That's right.
But I don't know if he's a villain or a good guy or somewhere in between. But yeah, so
that was Kurt Angle.
Oh Koba. Yeah, it was.
Koba was Kurt Angle.
I was
you
like,
didn't recognize him?
I did. You know what? He just
looked familiar to you.
That's funny that I can't believe Kurt Angle would actually play a Russian.
Yeah, exactly.
With
exactly.
Be all you can be American persona from wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that dude came out with the American flag on his butt. So come on, and he's gonna be a Russ. That's crazy. They must have paid him a lot for that, because that's crazy, man. I didn't even noted. That's crazy. I'm gonna have to watch this again because I watched it too fast.
Yeah,
Trying to watch it.
Did Kurt Angle ever do MMA?
No, he didn't. But I want to say that he might have trained for it because he was when it really started getting big, like around 05 and 06, he wanted to have a fight because he's a legit wrestler, gold medalist.
He's no joke.
Yeah. So he wanted to have a match. I can't remember with who. I wanna say Randy Couture, but I'm not 100% sure if he.
That sounds like something he would do.
Yeah. So he wanted to have a fight with someone, and they just couldn't make it happen. Now this is Kurt Angle at the height of his wrestling career, also.
Yeah, at the height of his steroids.
Yeah, he was up there at that time.
He was doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, Mm-hmm. So, but there was a few MMA guys in the movie that we saw. We saw the Tap Out Crew. I saw Nate Marquardt. Saw him in the movie. Rashad.
I couldn't think of his last name, but I knew it was Nate. So this is the first time the brothers see each other in the movie. And they confront each other, and this is where we kind of find out the other side of the coin, why the brothers are mad at each other. So I guess when the parents split up, one brother went with the mom and the other stayed with the dad. And the other one, I guess their plan was to go into the Marine Corps together, but Brendan stayed with his girlfriend.
Well, this is what I couldn't make out exactly what they were saying when they were having that discussion, because they were kind of, even though it was just them two, they were kind of talking like whispering. Yeah. But
I had the subtitles on, so I got the whole conversation.
Oh, okay.
So he's mad because they were supposed to go into the Marine Corps together and get away from the dad.
See, I didn't know that. I thought he was just mad that I thought Brendan decided to go live with his girlfriend. And
no, he decided to get with the girlfriend who he did marry later, who's his wife, instead of going with his brother into the Marines.
Oh, so, that's what he was. That's
because
I didn't think that's why he was mad. I thought that he was mad because he didn't go with the mom because she was sick and he didn't help Tommy out with her. He decided he chose his girlfriend. That's what I thought the issue was.
No, because the thing is, the mom got away from the dad, so they didn't have to worry about the mom. Then they were going to go in the Marine Corps, become badasses, maybe come back and tell the dad who's boss. I don't know, but for whatever reason, like I said, Tommy still went, and Brendan stayed back with his girlfriend, who he did marry and start a family with. So Tommy's mad for that, and then on top of everything else, with what happened with his friends and his brothers, because he was telling his brother, like, "You're not my brother because you're not in the Marine Corps." So he was throwing that in his face for that reason. Now, so that's that conversation. So now
I would have told Travis to cry me a river, build a bridge, and get over it. Like, you mad because I didn't go to the Marines with you? Give me a break.
I mean,
go ahead, man.
If that was the plan, but that's how it goes. So now we get to the fights, and the Brendan's first fight is it's a little shaky, but he pulls it off.
I feel like that was his MO the whole movie.
Well, and that is, but the other problem was, if you remember when him and Frank first started talking about training, Frank said that he had a tendency not to listen. So at the beginning of this fight, he's kind of not listening to Frank and getting his butt kicked. But then he starts listening to Frank, and now he's starting to put things together. So now that's the part where he's kind of turning over a new leaf here. He's starting to listen to his coach. Things are starting to happen. But all his fights, he's got to grind out. Meanwhile, Frank just goes in, lays down the hammer, and walks out the ring. He don't wait for a hand to be raised. He don't even wait for them to call the match. I love that. I'm sorry. That made me laugh really hard because I was like, this dude knocks my man out, doesn't even see if he's actually knocked out, just walks out the ring, and they're calling the decision like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And he's got a group of his brothers in arms from the Marines cheering for him. He just walks right by him. But, because I don't think he feels connected to them anymore because of everything that happened. So the rest of the fights all go like this. Frank's just running through people, including when he gets to Mad Dog again. And I don't know why Mad Dog thought he was just gonna run through Frank. He was talking smack. He was telling that it wasn't gonna get past the first round, and he just goes and gets his ass whipped again.
I was just like, why are we even fighting him again? That guy got knocked out.
That's what I said.
Like,
That's what I said. Just for dramatic effect, I guess. Mad Dog, I said at the beginning, Angel, Mad Dog shouldn't even been in this Sparta.
Not at all. No. Listen,
I'm just saying.
It looked like he was whipping up on like a cardio kickboxing class in the gym. Like he wasn't even playing real people, man. Get out of here. Then I felt so bad when they said, call that Puerto Rican kid, tell him if he gets down here, he gets $200. I was like, come on now. Don't do that now.
They was looking for Angel.
I was like, don't gotta do that.
I thought Angel was gonna show up.
Relax.
Oh no. But... So we get to the semifinals, and Tommy has no problems, and Brendan has to fight. What's his name again?
Koba,
Kurt Angle, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, I honestly was like, you know what? This is not going to go one of two ways. Because I knew the brothers were supposed to fight each other. But I thought maybe like something weird was going to happen with this fight. Because that was like the underdog of all. This was David and Goliath, man.
Yeah, because they, it seemed like the whole tournament had been set up for Koba to come in and win it. That's what it seemed like. Anytime they were showing people on TV talk about the fights or anything, it was always highlighting Koba. They didn't really highlight anybody else. And it seemed like it was the first. Did they say that this was the first time Koba fought in the U.S.?
Yes.
Yeah. So it seemed like this tournament was for him, and he ends up losing.
Well, they were also saying nobody went past the first round with Koba, so it was crazy. So before that fight, though, Tommy and his dad get into it out on the casino floor, to the point where Tommy tells him off. He's basically throws money.
All of that seemed unnecessary. I didn't even understand why they had this part in the movie. It didn't make any sense.
And it was weird because it led to what I thought it was going to, where the dad fell off the wagon. The dad had been trying so hard, and Tommy is just not giving him an inch. He really thought training Tommy.
Same with Brendan too.
Yeah. So now the dad goes up. He gets drunk. He's listening to his book on tape of what's the whale story? Moby Dick. And he's crying and drinking, and then all of a sudden Tommy feels bad for him, and now he's talking like, I don't know why did you have to break your dad before you're going to show him some compassion? I didn't understand that.
I think he just wanted to see him in pain because he was in pain.
Yeah, that makes sense, but that's a lot, man, because to cause someone who's 1,000 days sober to go back on the to get off the wagon, that's a hell of a way to say, like, F you, man.
Yeah.
And then be okay. All of a sudden we're like, I don't know, man. There's a better way to kind of get back at him than doing that. But I guess, if that's what had to happen, supposedly, whatever. It didn't really, like Gene said, it didn't make sense to move the story forward, but
yeah,
that's what they chose. That's what they chose. So then we have the Coda fight and Brendan, and like we said, it's not going well. Gets to the last round, and Frank tells him straight up, you got to knock this dude out or you have nothing. You got no house, you got no no money, you're done. You're out of the tournament. It's over. I mean, it wasn't that inspiring, but I mean, he wasn't wrong.
You're right.
Basically, you and your family are on the street after this, so dig deep. And he does. I mean, he's still getting thrown around a little bit, but he's fighting back. He's fighting. He's getting. He's trying to do what he can. He's submissions. He's throwing some punches. He's putting him on the ground, but everything is just getting reversed. Everything's getting reversed. And then I thought he had him with the arm bar, but he did put him in a really nasty Kimura. I've never seen a Kimura set up like that. Have you?
No.
That was crazy. And he was wrenching on it pretty good. Like he had like him behind his back, with his legs and wrenching on that. And I mean, like, Frank is telling him, break it. I thought he was going to break it for sure, but he didn't break it, and Coda finally tapped. And so that was what they thought was going to be the biggest upset. And then it sets up the brothers to fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's kind of like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm going to fight them. Like you said, man, they both got a reason. Now this is where they reveal Tommy, the real story about Tommy. And that this is when they also, everybody in the arena finds out that these two are brothers. At this point, they didn't know. I think he was taking his mom's last name, his mom's maiden name. So that's why nobody knew the real story. And they were telling, a different version. But now they're saying after this fight, the military police are going to come and arrest him.
All of that happened so fast.
I know. But they also said that if he wins the money, he wanted to win the money to give to his buddy Manny's family. That's how he wanted to spend that money. That's why he was doing this.
That's the reason why the dad should have went off and fell off the wagon. You're giving every dime to somebody else,
right?
You're not giving me nothing, not even 100,000. You about to get 5 million.
Well, even what about the guy who got him the fight? The guy who got him the fight said, "Hey, man, customary 10%."
Yeah,
but 10% of nothing is 0. So the fight goes on, and you can already tell Tommy's getting the best of Brendan for the first couple rounds, and then the third round, I think it was, Brendan, like, what do you dislocate his shoulder or break it?
Yeah, and it's at the end of the end of the third round, or fourth.
He said he felt something pop, and you could tell, like,
yeah,
and he was looking like he was trying to call the ref over to tell the ref, like, hey man, go check him out. He shouldn't be fighting anymore. He's feeling for his brother. Meanwhile, his brother's like, I'll fight you with one hand. No, I get this, man. Like, in tournaments, my brother and I, when we fought each other, like, there was no love lost, man. Like, don't get me wrong. At the end of it, like, we were brothers again, but we were trying to kill each other. So if I hurt an arm or a leg or something, I'm still gonna hit my brother with one hand or one foot. Like, I'm not gonna. That car ride home is not gonna be me saying that I gave up against my brother. It's just not gonna happen.
Right.
So I get that part. But meanwhile, I mean, basically, Brendan, he just picked him apart.
Mm-hmm. He could at that point.
And Frank's telling him to break the other arm.
Yeah.
To slow, but he didn't have to. I mean, he couldn't do nothing at that point. He didn't really use his legs. He didn't use any leg kicks or really any head kicks. He didn't really use any submissions, so he was just trying to punch him with one hand.
Yeah, and I think that Brendan, I think he might have been down in that fight. Like, if it had went to a decision, he might have lost.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, oh man, I know they're not about to set up an ending like best of the best.
Yeah, right. That's what I said. No, I didn't want that.
Yeah.
But so Brendan gets him and chokes him out, and while he's choking him, Tommy's telling his brother, "It's okay. I love you. Go ahead, win the fight." Like, he's basically like, I get it. I understand. Like, we can be brothers again. It's a little crazy. You choking me out and I'm telling you I love you. Okay. But that's the drama they wanted. And they basically, that was the end of the fight. We didn't really get to see any aftermath. Just kind of roll credits.
Yeah, they just kind of walked out the ring, and we saw their dad. He was there, and that was it. So, do you guys think? Well, we could talk about this on the post show in a little bit, but real quick, do you guys think that Brendan gave Tommy any money?
I mean, if that was me, to be quite honest, because $5 million is more than enough to pay for everything that he needed.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're trying to, if you heard the story about your brother, and now your brother might be going to military jail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the right thing would probably be, go ahead, break off a piece for your brother. He can give that to Manny's family. Maybe he can help his dad out. And, they can start mending fences.
On the flip side, if Tommy won, do you think he would have gave Brendan some money?
I mean, it depends on where his head was at, because at the end of that, his head was, I love you, I'm good. Like, I got all my anger out.
Yeah, but if he beat the shit out of
that's what I'm saying.
Brendan.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If he was still mad at him, beat the crap out of him, and said "F you," yeah, he probably wouldn't give him nothing.
Yeah.
And not only that, I'm going to military jail anyway, so screw the world.
Right.
Hey, Manning's wife, take all this money. F my brother, he's out on the streets in a box.
So what do you guys give what grade do you guys give this movie?
I'm going B+. I really liked it. Like I said, the little things didn't take me out of the movie, didn't make me dislike it. It's just, there's never going to be a perfect, anything like that. So B+ for me. A couple of things that bother me, but for the most part, good movie, good watch. I really enjoyed the good acting, good action. They kind of saved it all for the end, but there was some really good action.
Yeah. What about you, Angel?
I would say A-. No,
I thought for sure you were going A+, but that's good.
No, I probably will go A+, but I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I think it's a really good movie.
No, it is a good movie. It's very good
movie, man. Really good movie.
Yeah, Angel, I agree with you. I'm going A- also. Yeah, I mean, it was just small stuff. Like I really wish they would have cleaned up the ending a little bit and told us what happened, or even if they didn't even want to go, and film some more. They could have just had words come up in the end that said, this is what happened to Brendan. This is what happened to Tommy. This is what happened to the dad. We have no idea if they ever made up with the dad or nothing.
No,
Tommy,
right.
even though the military police could have taken Tommy, they might not have sentenced him to jail because of what happened.
Yes.
He could have said, like, I didn't know, like, you guys could have been trying to kill me. I don't know. I ran away. I was scared. So
true.
We don't know. So what are we watching next?
I mean, we can start John Wick.
All right, let's do it. Watch the first John Wick.
I just want to watch it anyway. I started the first one on the plane, and then I stopped watching it, but it really got me ready for the John Wick.
I want to have this interview with the stuntman.
I'll talk to him and set that up.
Yeah, I can't wait.
See, the biggest issue is he's in California, so it's going to be a time thing for us.
Bro, I'll stay up late. I don't give a shit.
Well, it's not a matter of us staying up late. 9 o'clock for us might be like 6 for him. I think it's a 3-hour difference.
6, yep.
So I just don't know what his schedule's like, but I'll hit him up and tell him that we're, if whatever is good for him, get a couple of days and times that'll work, and then I'll talk to you guys and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
All right, you guys got any closing remarks?
No, check out all the stuff. Check out the Patreon, and let's get it going.
Anything, Angel? That's it.
Nah, man. Listen, I'm all good. I'm exhausted, so I'm good.
Right. Hopefully, we got you for another 15 minutes, man.
Yeah, you got me.
The director wants us to do a post show, so we're about to go take care of that right now. Everybody, stay safe, stay strong. We'll holler at you next week, and I will play our music.
Disaster must come. At best, only postponed. Shaolin Kung Fu, to survive, must now be taught to more young men.